Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, all you bright and shining, beautiful souls. How awesome it is for you to be here. I know it's tough. It's tough. We were just here, what, 12 hours ago for most of you. And just know I see you. This is a hard thing. We're all crispy around the edges. But I will tell you, when you do the hard things, not only is there such satisfaction, and there truly is a great satisfaction in those accomplishments. Man, they taste sweet. They taste sweet when you show up for yourself and you actually put in the hard work and it pays off. The skills that you're learning are very marketable. That's just surface. That's the icing on the cake. Um, that they're marketable, that they're profitable, that they can earn you some bank. There's something deeper. It's the fact that you're showing up and willing to hack your own education and be that perpetual student. That is a gift multiplied, folks. And I hope that it never fades, it never dims in your world. I see that Cash Money Kev and Alisher are here. Alisher's in the house. He's probably getting the live stream up. So I'm going to give him a little wiggle room so that he can get situated and figure out what the heck Ross did last night. All of you, please log in. Make sure you have all of your login credentials. Make sure that you're in the Slack channel. Readjust your desk so that you're not going to spill the coffee on the keyboard. This is very important. Do as I say, not as I did. Um, we want to make sure that all of our technology stays safe. I'm going to be bringing up folks that are in class. So if I'm not bringing you up, doesn't mean I don't love you. Um, it means that we're here for a class, and this is week 4 of many, many people showing up and trying to build this season's project, which just so happens to be a streaming service. So when we don't bring you up, it's because you're not a student actually in the class, and we're only here for an hour. So we want to make sure that all of the questions that we get asked and answered are really pertinent and laser focused on the project. So please don't take offense to it. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. You are more than welcome to stay in the room. Just listen in on podcast mode. Find out, muddle through, figure out what we're doing, watch the live stream, soak in all of that lovely goodness. And if you want to join us for season 7, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I see that Rut Rose here and she's already got a hand up. So that can't be good. No, just kidding. How are you, Rut Rose?
I'm good, I'm good. Oh, no, it's not bad at all. I just wanted to give, last night was just like a master class. I've been sort of stumbling through just watching what Ross did. That's just gonna help me. I've been just fumbling. So thank you, Ross, for doing that and total master class. If you missed it, go back and watch.
The dumb fumble works the best, and I think people don't understand what you're bringing up, Rut Row, is really important. Being able to watch a workflow is so important. When you think about, let's say, oh, I don't know, the Henry Ford Museum, or just Henry Ford in general. Um, we had people that knew how to build a car. They were building it one at a time. And it wasn't until you had the automation process that it became a powerhouse, right? When you're looking at Ross or Nick or Alisher on the live screen, what you're seeing is an automation process that is hyper efficient. It is the way that we test our, you know, pieces of the puzzle. And to be able to see, hey, this didn't fail, or this failed, this didn't fail, and then watch in real time how the pivots and the workarounds are created is so important. That iteration process, because not just AI, all anything coding, anything that deals with technology and a computer, will humble you quicker than anything else, because sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why it's not working. It's just you want to bang your head on the computer or throw it, or teach it some swear words or whatever. It's frustrating because it doesn't make sense. Watching somebody else go through that process and then hearing him talk through it. I know for me personally, watching and listening to him talking, he's like, let's see if you work. And then he calls it some interesting names. Usually he sanitizes his language for us because he knows that I'm going to, ding him and give him a red card, because we don't want to edit the recording. It's self-serving, folks. But the fact is that when you're learning with AI tools specifically, and you are cobbling together, especially open source tools, you have to understand how they're threaded together and how they play nicely in the sandbox. And you're right, Roro. It was a master class last night. For some people, either it was over their head or they were just looking at it going, where am I? I am in the deep end of the ocean. When you start hearing those names out in the wild, you are going, it's going to click and you are going to be so giddy. The first time I heard Digital Ocean, it wasn't something that was on my radar, you know? It was just kind of like, okay, Digital Ocean. And then I started researching them, right? My background was in finance, and I started looking at their data sheets and their financials, and I'm like, holy crap, we are in with this company and they are gifting us digital stuff, to be in their ecosystem. And it was just a very humbling experience because you're learning about these companies. Right now in the modern day lexicon out in the wild, they're talking a lot about Hugging Face. Why? Why are they talking about Hugging Face? Why are they talking about GitHub? Why are they talking about DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek is open source. All of these tools that you have learned, these terminology things that you've kind of shuffled away and filed away from previous seasons, they're playing out in real time. So you've got people right now who don't even know what Hugging Face is. They don't even know a GitHub fork. They don't know any of that stuff. And you're learning these bits and pieces. And that is so empowering because it means when you are listening to what's happening in the world around you, there's no longer a fear. There's no longer a fear that DeepSeek is going to take your life away or take all of your keystrokes or anything else. Why? Because you have a command of those tools. You understand what they are, you understand what they do, you understand how to thwart their little invasive ways, and you understand how to own them, make them yours, which is really important. You void the warranties, you own the computer. Last night we were talking about S mode. Um, that took a whole season for me, by the way, to get rid of S mode on a laptop, which is so humbling and weird and stupid. But it was just fouling up my entire workflow. I wasn't able to even fork anything from GitHub because it was putting me in a digital playpen, and it was very frustrating. And so, revisiting these things is really, really cool. At any rate, this is Thursday morning. Thursday morning, we're supposed to do it down and dirty and fast and not waste your time. Of course, I'm gabbling to make sure that the voice can set up everything in the background. I'm going to do some mic tests, and then we're going to get going and hit the ground running. If you have questions, I need to hear them. If it's in the purple bubble, Slack's a little bit different because I have to be on many, many different screens, just like all of you. I'm toggling lots of streams and screens in the background. But we will try to get everything answered. If you are a non-neurotypical person, right? You're just crazy, amazing, wonderful, and learn in different ways. Sometimes the delay in my voice versus what you're seeing on the screen can be very unnerving. It can really tick you off, especially if it's material that you're not familiar with. Just come on up into the speaker panel. If I know that you're a part of the class, I'll bring you straight up. And for those of you that just think it's cool to be in this room and want to come up and participate, just know that I probably won't bring you up. We want to make sure it's for the students, but know that I love you and I appreciate you and I see you and your presence is honored. I hope that you go away with a golden nugget of some sort today. Put it in your pocket, own it, capitalize on it, whatever you need to do. Cash Money Kev, let me test your mic, my friend. How are you this morning? You're a little crispy around the edges too, my friend. I do know that for a fact.
I'm doing pretty good, Sarah. It's actually a pretty good morning. I woke up to a pretty cool foggy haze that was like kind of like the Mist movie. So it's been like one of those calm work mornings, and it feels good. It feels like a good Thursday to me, and I hope everybody else is having a great Thursday themselves. Currently, I'm just working on some stuff in the back end. If you guys click the link up in the Jumbotron for the ITT website, the stream is currently down on the website. We're getting that fixed on our end. It should be up soon, but for now, guys, just be sure to have the stream up either in a second X window with the Idea to Impact stream that Alisher has up in the Jumbotron as well. And then also, if you go to Twitch or even at the ITT website, you can just click on the little Twitch icon in the bottom right of the stream. It'll bring you to TSI or Twitch channel right away. So for now, guys, just go there, follow along with Alisher. And besides all that, a couple opening notes for the ITT website. Like Sarah said, be sure, guys, if you're new and you want to be in these courses, this is for anybody listening back in the recording as well. Be sure to have your ITT account set up on the website, and then keep an eye out for future courses for season 7. You definitely want to be signed up for that. And the only way to get all these resources in the Slack and all the code and all the assistance from Tech and Schools, you're going to be needing to sign up on the courses. So be sure to have your profile all set up on the ITT website. Check out that merch store as well. Man, that is so cool. Jack stopped by last night, Joteman Jack, and he showed off his ITT merch, and also gave me some inspiration for an ITT and ex-TSI coffee mug that I definitely need to get working on here soon. But without further ado, I know we're going to be jumping right into it. Alisher, I'll give it right over to you, brother. How's your morning going so far?
My morning is good. I was just setting everything up. I think the live stream is on. And yeah, you guys can check it out here on X, or you can check it out on Twitch. I think Twitch has better quality. And yeah, I'm just ready to go. I have my coffee. I think today you guys will see that once you kind of learn how to work with the AI to create a piece of code, it's just going to get easier and easier every time. So yesterday we were working on the admin panel. I think today we're just going to create another admin panel, right? And you could try it too. And I'll give you guys a few tips on how to get started, how to maybe formulate some things whenever you're talking to the AI, because even though it does code for you, you still have to be kind of technical with some of the lingo that you give it, albeit not like super developer technical. Like for example, Next.js, like me, Rosnick, we didn't even really start learning Next.js until AI came out and everybody was using it. We're mostly very like PHP and working that out. But yeah, I think we're ready to get started. I have everything set up. I'll give you guys
two
what's up?
questions, just real quick. One, TSI has My AI Tutor. If you have that, because I do see some newer faces that were not here last night. We did have a big discussion about your AI cohorts, right? You want to pick your ponies, and you want to make sure that your stable is full with the things that you need in order to be successful. If you do not have My AI Tutor, I think Claude was what the choice, the poison of choice last night. You want to make sure that you do have an AI of some sort as your cohort. If you do not have one and you need a snippet of code, make sure you are in the Slack channel. But I will tell you, you're playing on expert mode if you do not have an AI cohort yet. Tech in Schools does have My AI Tutor. You do have the 20% off ITT code, which is highly recommended. The premium then basically is the same price as your basic, and it's locked in. All right, this is not a shill. This is just saying if you want to succeed with the AI ecosystem, you do have to have a cohort, right? You have to lean in heavily, unless you're awesome at all of the coding. If you're awesome at all the coding and you already know this stuff like the back of your hand, then you won't need your AI cohort. Maybe, you still want to have one because the mechanical advantage is so awesome. So just make sure that you have that right now. You're going to need it. So if you do not, we need to know so that we can make sure that we are providing you at least the code so that you can continue to progress throughout the rest of the class. I apologize for interrupting, Alisher. Go ahead, hun.
Yeah, and if you guys are using AI Tutor, I'm going to be using Multibot. And another great alternative, even though I think Claude has rate limits, Claude is great at coding. I think that's probably why it was the choice yesterday. Is it's slightly better than the others at coding specifically. Um, Recently, not so much, but I've actually been using Gemini Flash 2.0. I know Ross said it's not that great, but I've actually had great success with it. And if you guys go to AI Studio, it's free. So any experimental model from Gemini is free. And I think their thinking model, so their reasoning model, their competitor to O1, it just got an update where it has 1 million context. So you could be in the same conversation for like the rest of the month, like for a month or so, because 1 million context, pretty much 5 to 10 times larger than whatever the competition is, like OpenAI or Claude. And there's no rate limiting right now because it's free. I've been using it heavily. Like I get to the point where I have like several projects in it, trying to mix them, have a conversation. Yeah, that's what I've been personally using, and that's what I'll use today. And you guys will see that it does outgive you full code. It has some good understanding. It does have some hiccups, and you know the way AI works, it does get a little loopy sometimes, where it's just like stuck on the same issue. But this one's good, especially if you're gonna build out a big project.
Can you post a link to the Twitch?
Sure. Give me one second.
Yeah, Twitch is stable too. For those of you that are listening into, Ross did say last night that we will be making all of the YouTube videos. They're going to put them on YouTube just because it's easier to classify them and such. I do anticipate they'll also be on the Innovators Think Tank. You want to make sure you have your profile there. Also, you want to make sure that you are out in the wild, right? But capturing those videos, if you are just on X, right? Make sure you bookmark last night's recording and then this one, because you don't want to lose track of them. If you bookmark each of those spaces, or sometimes I cheat, I go up to the top and I, snag the link and then DM it to myself or, text it in a regular old fashioned text, to make sure that I'm keeping those. And I do have different tools to kind of download the entire audio. Now, I know Sharon has created some and so has Alisher, but you can create an AI or have an AI do the transcript for you too. So after we have these sessions, I create a transcript of sorts, snip out, edit, and then I can put that side by side with screenshots so that I can understand it in my binder, because sometimes it's just information overload and I need to understand in a tactile way. Like I'm trying to understand how to do something on the computer, but I'm being distracted by another screen. If I have just a regular old manual, like an old fashioned Luddite, analog binder with paper and my scribble notes and scrawled in the margins, I tend to do better. Your workflow might be different, and just whatever you win at, use that, right? So if you're capturing notes with, various note documents, Obsidian or Notion or whatever, make sure you're capturing those things. We also had a lot of vocabulary words last night, crud, amongst other things. Make sure we, capture those as well so that you can start learning the vernacular. When things go wrong, you can actually ask the boys, hey, I did this, this, and this, and you have the right terminology so that they know what you're talking about. All right, Ro, you had your hand up real quick. What did you need, love?
Oh, I was just going to ask Alisher, what was he using, Multibot
Yes,
or
ma'am.
Multibot beta? And then it looks like in the URL it's ultra, but I don't think that really matters. The premium would be okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so premium will be
Go
okay. It really doesn't matter. This is just the first one that comes up for me. It's the one I've been using for the past week. And what's good about Multibot versus Plus is you can actually, this stores it in a remote database, so you can take this on the go, take this to a different device. If you have it on your cell phone, you could even install it as a progressive web app. So whenever you go to the website, it tells you to install it as an app. I can even install it as an app here, as you can see in the link. There, right next to the link, there's a little install button. So really, that's why I really like Multibot. I've been using it a lot because I'm kind of hopping between several devices, like many of us are. And it's been really useful to have that conversation come with me on my laptop.
Yeah, love it. And what's the difference between that and the beta one? Is there or
It might just be different models, slightly different features, but in terms of models, they shouldn't be too different. It should all be fairly the same models. I think beta might even be a little bit more up to date in terms of models. This one, I don't think this one has the new Claude, which is the not so great one. So yeah, other than that, I think they should be pretty identical.
thank you.
For what we're doing, I know you guys did a little bit of artifacts yesterday. I think today we're just gonna see how we can arrive at the conclusion the fastest. Right, we did a lot of searching yesterday. We did a lot of just playing around. Today we'll kind of take a look at what you would need to just build out that page, and I think it's gonna be just a completely separate Next.js website for us. So let's actually start with that. So I'm in Gemini. Let me make sure I'm using the right one. Yeah. I like to use just the regular Gemini 2.0 Flash instead of the thinking one. Thinking one is not as doesn't have as big of a context on here yet. Hasn't been updated yet. And you know, something super easy is whenever you start out with a project, like a new website, you want to give the AI kind of like your framework. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say I want to build a Next.js website. Now here we're using what's called TypeScript as well. TypeScript, when it comes to different files, it just provides a little bit more protection from like unidentified types, unidentified formats. So I want to build a Next.js website with TypeScript. I think we'll start with something simple, right? And then we'll ramp it up. And then I'm gonna give this a few sort of directives. I'm gonna say, give me a step by step, step by step. I have nothing on my computer so far. And this should get us started fairly easy. Yeah. So good. Some things I want you to go over. Make sure you have Node.js. We do. If you're going to build any one of these React, Next, Node, Vue, any of these JavaScript-based websites, you need Node. We're just going to use NPM. We're not going to use anything too fancy.
What's Yarn?
What's up?
What's Yarn?
It's just another one of these libraries. So just like NPM is a package manager, Yarn is another one. PNPM, they all have their own little quirks. If you guys remember from seasons ago, we had Bun. Those all do the same things. They install packages for you. That's what's good about Next and Node is it's package based. So I think Python is package based as well. So here we can get past the whole install part because we already have that. And here we have the creation part. So it wants us to run the script. And what I recommend is you run it somewhere where you have all your projects. Right, so yesterday you might have started first with GitHub and creating a project there. But if you're creating a fresh project, you're gonna start with your desktop. And so I'm just gonna run it in here. On Windows, it's very, actually I think both on Mac and Windows, you can just right click and it's gonna be open in terminal. And it's gonna say whether it's open on desktop or somewhere else. I don't mind keeping all these projects on desktop. But if you have a drive that you keep it on, like one of those little removable hard drives, you can put it there as well. And typically, it's always going to start with this npx create next app, create React app, create Node app, etc. type commands. I think you guys went through this yesterday as well. You see the command here says npx create next app at latest. So it's going to use the latest Next.js framework. Then it's followed by the name, my Next.js app. So we're going to have to change that. And then it's followed by the little additional TypeScript tag, which is, we want to keep it TypeScript. We want to keep it all the same between this admin panel and the website itself. And our website, if you guys take a look at the code, it ends in these TS and TSX extensions, and that means it's TypeScript. So let's run this. Paste it in, and I'm going to change what it's called. I'm going to call this Next.js Mongo admin. I actually did a project where I had to make an admin panel not too long ago. So it was a fun little refresher for me.
And if you're on Mac, you can go to the utilities and it's under terminal.
Yeah, but still, what I recommend is you right-click like your desktop folder or your document folder or whatever folder, wherever you want it to be, and you open that in terminal. Because I think if you go to the utility, it's going to take you somewhere that's not particularly accessible for you through Finder.
Got
It's
it.
going to
Got
take
it.
you like
Thank
the
you.
hard drive itself or something like that. So let's check this out. Okay, so once to install a package, we're going to say yes. It just probably needs to update the next package. Nice. Do we want to use ESLint? ESLint is good. It helps you kind of keep the structure together. So sure, why not? These are all like the basic setups for modern day Next.js websites. Tailwind CSS, that's the styling. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. So that should be a little bit of a keyword there. Yeah, we'll use CSS. It's probably the best way to style your Next or Node app. We don't really need an SRC directory. This doesn't really matter too much in our case. This is going to be a very simple app. Yes, we are going to use App Router. The main difference is App Router is much newer. It's the one where you see a lot of files named route.ts and a lot of files named page.tsx versus the file being the name of the page and whatnot. Also helps a little bit with security. I think it's a lot more secure and it's faster. Would you like to use TurboPack? Sure. TurboPack. Why not? TurboPack just makes it, I guess, faster. It just breaks down the project a little bit differently. Nah, we'll say no for now. This app is small enough where it doesn't need it. We don't need to change import alias. And this will pretty much get the project for us, the starter. And this will also install all the packages. So we don't have to run the install command, like npm install. It'll already do it for us. So that's how you pretty much get started. If this is a Python, you would probably start making files. This will generate files for us. Yeah, John, you have your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, I'm totally lost. Or am I supposed to be doing something or just watching?
Well, this is the recap, right? So if you did something yesterday and you got to the end yesterday and you were actually doing something, probably you don't have to do it today again.
I just watched yesterday because it was kind of over my head, so I just feel a little out of it. But I'll just continue to observe, and when you're done recapping, then I guess I'll talk.
This whole space is going to be a recap.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, tell me
So
when should I start doing
yeah,
something or catching
yeah,
up?
start doing things. Start doing things. Because if you don't like start doing this right now and run into issues and ask your questions, um, you might not get a chance.
Well, I'm in Gemini, and so where did you get this prompt? I'm in Slack. I don't see the prompt. I don't understand how you got this output. What prompt did you put in?
Well, earlier I pretty much dictated my prompt. It was I want to build the Next.js website with TypeScript. Give me step by step.
Perfect.
Okay, let's see. All right, so we're past this create. So this should have a fresh project for us. And I think for those of you who were in season 1, if you were in season 4 or 5, you're already familiar with like these starter websites that this creates for you. And once you run the create command, what you want to do is you want to find that folder that it created, because ultimately that command creates a new folder for you. Let's see, here it is, Next.js Mongo. And this is the folder you want to open in your Visual Studio Code. So this is my old project, right? This is our Netflix project. I'm going to open a new window. You want to have them both open. And I'm going to open a new folder. So open folder, and I'm going to look for that folder that was created on my desktop. I have everything by date sorted. So of course, the first thing is going to be the last thing I made. And you guys see I have a bunch of websites that were created the same way with the same command. There's transcription, Twitter Spaces, portfolio. They're all pretty much created with that same command. Let's make sure this is our root folder. Remember, root folder is the folder that's going to contain everything. And of course, yeah, here we have our app, node modules public. Looks like a next app. And we'll select that folder. You'll notice some things that this already creates for you, like get ignore. So node modules already automatically ignored. env files are ignored, so that's great. Good, good way to protect ourselves from accidentally sharing our env. And you'll also notice the node modules folder, which means npm install has already been run. So now in terminal, all we have to do is just start it. So we're going to do npm run dev. That's a command to start an npm project every time on your computer. You got to give it a second to compile. And once you have that local host link, we can check it out. Yeah, for me, port 3000 is taken up by the actual app already, the Netflix app. So this is going to be on 3001. And it's going to be super basic. Whenever you use one of these starters, they're very simple. It pretty much just tells you how to get started. And that's what we're going to change, right? This is what we're going to turn into our admin panel. And you guys are going to see how fairly easy it is once you know how to formulate what you want out of your code. So let's see. Here's my project. We have a few things that we need to consider. You can skip through all this. Takes you through npm run dev. This is pretty much what we just did. Just keep in mind, whatever the AI tells you may not necessarily be the case for you, right? We all have different devices. We're all at like different stages of development. So if AI is taking you through some of these things, it may not be the case for you. For example, CD, my Next.js app, we changed our name. And CD just means to go into that directory. So you kind of have to interpret or take some of the explanations and actually read through these steps. It'll help you understand what to do every time you start a project. And you won't need this this anymore, because this is the same almost every time you start a Next.js project. Takes you through making your first changes, but we don't really care about that as much, because what we want to do is start building our admin panel. So let's see what we got. Now, yesterday you guys used ShadCN. Next.js has all sorts of libraries. ShadCN is a great one. They have a lot of components, and check this out. If you're on the ShadCN website, highly recommend you go into components and pick the ones you want to use. Now, admin panel, we're probably going to use something like a table, right? Because all these users, all these movies, they need to be in a table-like format with columns and rows. We're probably going to use something like a popover or a modal, something that pops up when you edit one of them. Probably going to use something like a button. We're going to, what else is here? Maybe something like tabs, right? Tabs for the different things we want to edit in the database. Users versus movies. Maybe you want to use some of these charts. I know Sharon yesterday mentioned having some sort of a chart, maybe how many active users do you have? How many daily logged in users you have? And of course, these are components that you can then maybe take and reuse in your Netflix clone. I think it also uses ShadCN. ShadCN, very popular. A lot of Next.js websites nowadays will use it, because the company that owns Next.js actually owns ShadCN as well nowadays. So it's all very integrated. It's what Artifacts uses, it's what V0 uses, and a lot of these AI website builders use. Now, ShadCN already gives you a step-by-step. We're just going to go through that step-by-step of getting it started. So let's see. I'm going to open a new terminal. This is on the ShadCN website. I think you guys can find it in Slack, maybe from yesterday. I'll drop it in here as well. And you want to make sure you know which one of these you're using, right? So we're using NPM. So we're going to switch it to NPM, and all of these commands are going to be in NPM. And again, just make sure you read each step carefully, so you know which command to run, what's the difference between them. I'll help you get a hang of it a little bit better. And you guys will see, majority of this is setup, and then comes the coding. And a lot of the coding can actually be done almost like one shot when it comes to prompting, especially like some of these bigger blocks, because this is all ultimately going to be one page and just different components. We can use the default. Let's do Zinc or Slate. Slate. Sure. Okay, it looks like you're using React 19. Some packages may fail due to pure dependency. There's truly no difference between these two commands. They both do the same thing nowadays. So I'll just go with the first one. And if you don't know what this is, you can take this to the AI. Just copy the whole thing and paste it into your conversation. But reading some of these things also helps. Okay, so we have ShadCN. We went through that. And now we can start adding our components. So a component that I really like is a drawer. It's one of my favorite components. Let's see what else we got here. We also got tabs that we can take a look at, right? To have different tabs, movies, users, genres, and whatever else you might want. Button is another good one. It's your typical component that can be used everywhere throughout the website. And trying to think what else is there. think maybe input, something where you can type, right? Input.
Scroll.
Scroll is a good one. But scroll you could do with CSS. It's like an overflow value, something like that. We could tell it to the AI. It'll scroll. Table. There it is. Table. Yeah, this looks about right. I think there's another one if you guys want to check it out. That's pretty cool. It's sheet. Let's check this out. Here's the drawer component. The reason I like it is because it's very, very interactive. And if you're on mobile, very mobile friendly. That's more of a dialogue. But yeah, drawer, you can actually swipe it down to close it. Super clean component. Tabs. You could already kind of see how, one of these tabs could be users, then movies, then whatever else you got to edit in your database. Button, super simple. What's up?
I see they have that Laravel there. How does that work?
You have what?
Laravel?
Oh, I'm not sure. I actually haven't used this in Laravel, but I imagine the same way because Laravel is also package based. But it looks like it's if your Laravel project also uses React. Because these are just components that you can plug in. Sometimes they could be like code agnostic, or they could be coded in different things. With button, that's pretty good.
Make sure you get that dark mode.
Yeah, if that's something that you are worried about, I think this does support dark mode pretty well. There's a little theming, JSON options, and there's dark mode. And sheet is the one that kind of pulls up as well. It's very similar to a drawer, but I like a drawer more. Okay, so we have our components. We kind of know what to do. Now we need to know what our database looks like. Right? If we're interacting with the database, and typically a database is going to be something that's SQL. In this case, we have Mongo. Mongo is a NoSQL framework, so it's like JSON based. So here we have Prisma. They're similar. Your keyword Prisma equals database. This will tell you the setup. You don't have to go to Mongo, copy it over. You can even take this whole project and drop it into AI Tutor and say, tell me the database structure. But schema, anything that says schema, SQL, seed, migration, those are all kind of like database keywords. Yeah, John, you have your hand up. What's up?
Yesterday, it said Ross said to make a folder and then put a blank folder and put it in, and I mistakenly made it the same name as my other folder, and I can't find my EBN. And I went to GitHub, and it's not even in my GitHub, so I just feel totally lost.
Yeah, I mean, you could just make a new folder, or when you run the command, it's gonna make a folder for you. Like when you run the npx create next app command, the folder will just be created. And it might not be in GitHub because you didn't push it up to GitHub yet.
I'll just continue to watch this and figure it out later, because
John, is there any way that you can share your screen? Because sometimes it could be just hiding. Like if you haven't pushed it, then it won't show up. And sometimes it's the most bizarre thing, just starting it all up again can kind of repopulate what you're supposed
I
to.
mean,
You're on a Mac
I did,
too, right?
I did the search in GitHub and there was no file found. So, and it's not in the, when I downloaded, I had it all in my desktop, but when I changed the file, it's disappeared. But I'll see if I can find it.
All right. Well, stick around. Don't be discouraged because we've all been there. You are on a Mac, correct?
Yes. Yep. That's correct.
All right. Follow along with Rutro. Rutro's on a Mac. She understands it. And may be able to muddle through it in the back channels too. You might just be missing one little step. So don't be discouraged. We'll figure it out. We'll continue through. I wanted to make sure too, we have Bartlett on the stage. That's actually Dan. I nixed him from the, I didn't nix him from the space, but I definitely knocked him out of the speaker role yesterday. So he's just wearing a different PFP. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and I know it's confusing. What I mentioned though is that it makes it feel like a very safe place. So I didn't feel put out. I didn't feel like I was set out in the cold. But I do have something for John because I think I'm also using a Mac that will. I'm sorry, I'm getting like an echo from my. Hang on just a second. It's driving me insane. Let me mute the tab. Okay, good, all good. So for John, you have AI Tutor, right?
That's the other problem. No, I don't have it yet.
Oh shoot, I muted the tab. Okay, sorry, John, what did you say?
No, I do not have AI Tutor yet.
You do not, okay. So what I can do kind of in the background, just as I'm going through this, is I can send you some screenshots. I am building it the way that Alistair is teaching it right now, but what I did before to learn console and to learn coding and Next.js and Python, all the things, I would just use AI Tutor console in Premium, and then it would follow. I put it in the code and the instructions that we're supposed to be doing, and I would tell it what I wanted to make, and then it would show me the code, and it would just do things for me. And we have the HTML piece. If there's an error, I just put the error right back into AI Tutor, and then Anthropic and Claude will help me fix it. So it's a very pedagogical way where you can see these little sequences that maybe are missing as you're learning it. So I want to make sure that you are along for the ride at the beginning of this, because this is, it's, even though it's a review of last week, it's really important. And so I don't want you to feel like you're behind. And I'm on a Mac too. So Rutro, AI John Allen, let's work together. That's all I'm saying. I'll put some things in, we can create a little group in Slack.
Sounds amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, John. I know that you're struggling, and you'll get your AI Tutor eventually, right? We're just going to put it out there in the universe. It'll eventually happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably get it this weekend actually, but yes.
Cool beans. But in the meantime, we can send you snippets in the background so that you can have at least code to play with. We do not want people not to be able to at least participate. So, I'm giving you a gentle hug because I know how frustrating it is. But at any rate, we're going to continue. If no one else has any other questions, comments, concerns, etc. I'm looking. I'm not seeing any. Go ahead, Alistair. I apologize for the interruption.
Well, while I'm formulating this this question to the AI, well, what exactly are you having an issue with, AI John? Did you create any projects or folders yesterday?
No, I just watched the site is up and running.
Yeah. So what folder can you not find then? If you didn't create any folders,
I can't find my EVN folder. What happened is I've created a new folder.
What EVN? You're talking about the ENV file?
Yes, I'm dyslexic. Yes, the ENV.
Okay. Well, you can go to Visual Studio Code and you can see your recently open projects. That's one way.
What happened was I created a new folder that was empty and I put it over into Video Studio Code, and somehow it changed the folder on my desktop, because the old folder on my desktop that had the ENV in it is no longer there, and it's blank, and it seemed to have pushed down and wiped everything out on my desktop. So I still have the original folder that I uploaded. So, but then I went to GitHub and I looked for the EVN file and I did the search. It's
But
not
for-
in the.
So another thing you could do, go to Vercel. You have your env variables in Vercel, remember, because it's running live in Vercel. If it's running live in Vercel, it's somewhere in GitHub, but we're not working with that right now. We're creating an admin panel, which is a completely separate new project.
I just feel like I totally fucked up. So, and I don't have AI tutor, so I'm trying to follow along, but I'm not doing anything to my site. But I'll just be quiet and I'll watch and observe.
We're not doing anything to any of our sites. We're making a new website that will serve as an admin panel where you can add movies, delete users, edit movies.
Sounds good.
This week, we're not touching our Netflix clone at all. So you're creating a completely new Next.js website.
Now I got it.
You don't need
Thank you.
from last week.
Yes, now I got it. Thank you.
Don't
And
be so hard on
I
yourself.
highly
either.
recommend
I
you
just
try to run some of these commands and
yesterday I
Yeah.
just did what Sharon suggested. Sometimes just listen, and while I was listening, I also have a big job to finish, so I was doing a little work. I wasn't totally paying attention, so on the review I'm feeling a little lost, but that's on me.
John, you're good. If I think I know where you're lost at, brother. So check your DMs. I think I can send you over the code snippet from last night, and I'll just DM you the quick code to run it, and you'll have the admin panel ready to rock and roll. It's only like 3 steps. Alistair's just going through showing everybody who wasn't there how to make it from scratch using AI. Sorry, Alistair, for stepping on any toes. I just want to let John know I'm gonna send it to him in his DMs real quick, and I got him.
Sorry for taking up the time, but thanks for everybody.
Don't be. It's the recap, John, and it's a class. Everybody's learning. Don't ever be sorry for asking questions. You're participating, so don't ever be sorry. You're all good. I'll hand it back over to you, Alistair. Keep on rocking, brother.
Yeah, so I'm just formulating how we can create this admin panel. And look, John, if you run this command, I'll put a command in Slack, right? You can go to terminal, or you can like make a fresh folder, starting new, right? We're creating a little piece that's kind of like completely separate, yet connects to our website. So if you run the create command, that's going to make a whole new project for you, and you're pretty much going to be up to speed. You're going to be up to speed with us making this admin panel. This is the create command. Okay, and basically what I want from my admin panel, I saw what you guys did yesterday. I liked it, so we're gonna keep it about the same. So I think you guys had tabs, right? You had tabs for users and movies, so that's kind of what I'm expressing to the AI. I want a page. It's gonna be an admin panel for my Mongo. I gave it the structure of my database. And then I told it I want to be able to delete, add, and edit users and movies. That's the main category that we want to be able to add to, because I think that's really the only thing that changed is the users and the movies. And yeah, I'm basically telling it each tab is going to have a table. I'm giving it like a breakdown of what it looks like. You could also give it an image depending on what model you're using. So Gemini, Claude, GPT, GPT-4o. I don't think L1 supports images. But yeah, they all kind of support an image where you can give it a picture of what you want. So you can create an image somewhere, like a mockup. What's up, Rutro?
Um, just an ask. Would you be able to share the conversation at the end of all this?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That might help you, John.
Well, I was just gonna put this on GitHub at the end, so you guys have it.
Yeah, but the whole going back and forth between AI tutors, that might be helpful with this whole back and forth that you're doing.
Yeah, I think I can export it as a JSON, so you can put it in anywhere. Even if you're like in regular GPT, I think you can import it. Okay, when admin clicks each user / movie, a drawer with the fields pops up. And they can edit user / movie. And then at the top of the table, have a search. So you can search the table. Have add new movie / user. Well, you don't really need to add a user. Add new movie button in the movie tab. Right, users are generated. You just want to edit and delete users. Now let's see this users table. That's account, there's user. And especially here, it doesn't look like it. Now, what you could also do is tell the AI what you want in the table, right? So I'm going to say for users table, I want to see columns for, let's see what we have in users. For name, ID, image, email. Email and edit actions. For movies, I want to see, let's see what movies have. And you can see your structure in Mongo as well. This is pretty much the file that creates the Mongo structure. I want to see ID, title, thumbnail, genre, duration, and edit actions. When the drawer for user, well, when the drawer is opened, I want to see and be able to edit all the fields. For images and videos, videos have a preview. Okay, now I think that about sums it up of what we want to build with it. Now let's give it some directives like I want to use ShadCN. I already have it installed. If you don't already have it installed, you could say I want to use ShadCN. I don't have it installed yet, and then you can give it all the documentation. So I'm going to say here are all the ShadCN component docs. And then you can put in the docs for installation, and it'll walk you through the installation process. But for me, we just installed it. And so I'm just going to start giving the docs for these components. Goodness. Right. There you go. There's our drawer component. There's our tab component. It's good. It'll let the AI kind of like know what the structure of these components are so it can remake them for what you want. Good button component. I'm sure it's familiar with the button. An input. Let's just do a table. Now, what we could also say is make the design of this admin panel modern, sleek, well designed. Make sure that buttons have icons. And then the main one is give me all the code for these components, pages, and routes. Because ultimately we'll also have a route to kind of send the API call to Mongo. Let's see. So let's see what this gives us. We gave it quite a big task. We gave it a lot of code. All right, so let's start putting this all together. What I like to do with project structure is I like to compare it to, of course, the project that we're working on. So here's our fresh project. Looks like we have app, we have components. So we're gonna need to start creating that. Let's start with these pages. Right, I'm just gonna create empty files for everything that's mentioned here. So app, I already have page.tsx. I just need the API route. So new folder, API, and then you see everything that's a /, that's a folder. So I'm gonna do a new folder, users. And then another folder, movies. And then each one of these is gonna have a file inside called route.ts that interacts with the database. And then we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components. So we need to create a components folder. And if you notice on the project structure, components folder needs to be on the same level as the app folder. So to do that, we need to go to our empty space over here and create a folder because our app folder is in the root. So new folder, components. This is your typical Next.js Node project structure. And now let's create all these files. So new file, data, table.tsx. Just gonna make all of these that it tells me to make. And then it also tells me to create a utility function. It's common with ShadCN. So we need to make another folder, as you can see here on the bottom, that's lib, that's also in our root. So new folder, lib, and what is it called? Utils.ts. Oh, there's already lib in here. Let's find it. There it is. And there you go. It's already here, so we don't really need to change anything there. All right. Now let's just keep following the steps, and it's going to give you the code for all of these tables. Now, what I'm noticing is, let's see if the commands are here, because there's some commands that you're going to run that you'll need. Right, so this is actually missing commands. And then once you, well, let's put it in first, and you'll see what ends up happening is a lot of these packages, they don't exist. So you're gonna start getting a lot of errors. But anyway, data table, fix that in. This is user drawer. Movie drawer. Yeah, pretty much every one of these files is going to have some sort of an error for now, because we don't have our packages. Here's the routes. And another cool thing about the routes is you can have multiple methods here. So I can have a get route, I can have a delete, put, etc. And there's the page. Okay, now we have a bunch of errors. And most of these errors is because we don't have modules. So we're going to tell the AI, now what commands should I run? Because there's some commands that we do need to run. Right, so here's a good summary. We already ran the create command. We're already in our directory. We already have SHATCN. Now we need to add the components. So we need this SHATCN add components command. This is how every component works in SHATCN. Is you just, if you want the component, you need to run the command for that component to download. Oh, right, and for some reason, I think you guys might have saw this yesterday too, the AI has a thing of adding UI at the end of SHATCN. Now, I want us to install Prisma as well. I want us to initiate Prisma. So let's install Prisma. We don't need to push a database. We already have our database. Let's create the Prisma project. And let's follow up. So we're going to need to make an env file, a new one here, with just one variable, the database URL. Oh, so it already has an env. Perfect. Yeah, so all we have to do is just copy our old env. We're using the same database URL. That's the database we wanted to interact with. Let's generate the client. I think it needs it for something. Oh, right. Missed one step. Actually, copying over the Prisma database, the Prisma schema. Now, it's a little bit different than what you might have did yesterday, because this actually uses all the same stuff that you use in the framework already. Okay. And now let's see. We're down to just a few errors. So from 30, we're down to 5. So a lot of things were fixed with this. Save all. All right. Now let's keep fixing these errors. So I think we'll go one by one. So first we'll start with the user drawer. So this is missing label. I guess that's a component it didn't add. Whenever you see something from components UI, you know that's ShatCN. So what you can do is you can just run a command to add the label. Right. So let's go back and add label. There you go. Now we're down to 3. And this one looks more like a TypeScript command. So fairly easy. We're just going to copy. What I like to do when I fix errors is if you have a page full of errors, I like to copy the page, give it to the AI, and say, this page, this component, this code has this error. And then from there, you can kind of infer what kind of error it is and how you can fix the error. And what I like about Gemini is it tends to always give you back the full edited code. Okay, I'm gonna copy the code, and I'm just gonna replace it. All right, now we're down to 2. Fixing errors is one of my more favorite things to do with AI because it typically gets it right. Okay, here's more of a type error. So let's again, same process. I'm gonna take the whole code for the page. I'm gonna say, here's my code, and then I can give it both errors. I am getting these errors. And of course, if you want to take your time, you can actually read through the explanation that the AI gives you on these errors. And it looks like most of these are just type errors. TypeScript, it's good because it prevents, wrong file types, wrong object types and whatnot from entering your code, but it's also a little bit annoying to work with. Oh, that's only half the code? Or did it not? Must have not finished. Let's repaste it. And there you go. All of our code has been fixed, no problems. And let's see if it's still running. It is still running, so let's go check it out. Nope, not this one. I need localhost 3001. Okay, and here we have users, movies. A little bit different, a lot more basic than what you guys did yesterday. And let's see something. What do we got? Right, home is empty. Home is where you can have the different tables and whatnot. Then when I go to users, let's see if this works. Yeah, I think it might be searching by email, maybe ID, not sure. Everything, yeah. There's the drawer, can change the name, the email, image URL. Let's go to movies. Let's check this out. Here's our movies. I can see the name, the thumbnail, duration, genre. And I'm able to change all of them. So let's say if I wanted to change this Elephant's Dream one, was something that I made last week. Let's see if I can find it. So this Elephant Dream, let's see what videos I have. Oh, let's do title horror example. I think that's one of the ones I used last week. Example of a short AI generated horror type video. Let's do video URL. We have all of these from our cPanels. So all of you should have a cPanel to be able to have these URLs. And UC gives you a little bit of a preview. All these things you can make bigger by either talking to the AI and editing it, or editing it yourself if you have some knowledge of Tailwind. Then genre, we'll do horror. I think yesterday somebody asked about genre. Genre is pretty much just like a string of text. And then in code, you have to set up the different genres. But here's just a string of text. It's not a drop down or anything. You can make it a drop down so it's consistent. So if somebody, let's say, wants adventure genre, it will look the same every time, regardless of capitalization or whatnot. That way you'll lock it to whoever creating these movies to specific genres. Duration, this is 5 seconds. And let's see if this works. Oh, it did. It updated. And let's see if it actually worked on our platform. Here it is. Cool. So this is, I guess this is another admin panel that you guys can use. Let's try to add them. There you go. Oh, so it brings in, this is some state management stuff that you guys can play around with. Is when you do add movie, it keeps the state of the old one. So let's, I'm thinking. Can I search here? Superman, yeah. Cool. Let's give it some more instructions. So I think what I want to do first is, where are these tabs located? These tabs on the main page. Yeah. So first thing I want is for this to be centered and all the text to be bigger. But I think we'll start with centering of this. Do you guys have any questions how we got there? Because the typical process is you say, I want to create this. This is what I'm using. And then you list what you're using. So in this case, we said, I want to create an admin panel that does these specific things, that looks this specific way. I am using Mongo and ShotCN. And then some things you want to add to your prompt is, give me the full code. Give me all the commands I need to run. So that way it kind of gives you back everything in one response. If anybody wants this conversation, I'm going to export this. Let's do JSON. And you guys can just add it to your conversation. If you have multibot, I think you can even import it. And this is a fairly short conversation. You know, it only had a few errors by the end when we were done with it. And even then, there were your typical type errors. So any questions so far?
I'm not seeing any hands, Honey Bear.
Right, one thing I don't see here is delete. So we got to add a delete button. Right, so this has the context of your project already, right? It pretty much created the project for us. So what I'm going to say is, in movies, add a delete button. And what's good is I think it's separated into components, right? So we don't have to edit the entire page every time. We can edit individual components. And I highly recommend when you guys are coding, when you're making something, you actually read through, the non-code part that the AI responds with, because it'll help you associate a little bit better with the code itself and understand the structure. And again, Gemini, why I like Gemini is because it just gives you the entire code again. Even if you just need a little bit of snippet edited, it just assumes that I'm lazy and I want the whole code. And from there, it's just about editing the files that the AI tells you to edit. So here it tells me to edit 3 files: data table. Is it data table or movie table or something like that? The data table, the route for movies. I'm assuming to include a new method. You'll notice there's things like get, which gets the information. There's put, which updates / adds to your database. There's post, which also updates. And then there's the delete method, which will allow you to get rid of the things in your database. And then it wants me to edit the main page. And there's the delete button. And now, because it has this context of having an icon in a button, now most of these main buttons are going to have icons now. Let's see. Yeah, home is empty. Just so you guys, whenever I give you this code, home is just going to be empty because that's for you to like make tables maybe in there. Let's see if delete works. I'm going to delete the Superman example. Looks like it worked. Give it a refresh. Yeah. So the part where it actually interacts with the Mongo, fairly easy. The harder part is figuring out what you want your admin panel to look like. Right, this is a design of an admin panel that I've just like done before. And you guys can, completely rebrand it, add more colors, make the text bigger. But otherwise, functions pretty much the same as whatever you guys did yesterday. Let's see. Now, let's actually put this in GitHub. Right, so I'm going to put this in GitHub and I'm going to share this with you guys. Now, a good practice when you're putting something in GitHub, let's check this out. Here's our project. We're not going to commit our env file, but what we should make is an env example. If you guys remember, when you first started with your project, you might have had a file called .env.example. And then this will, this looks like .env.example is ignored too. Let's rename that to just maybe env example. Yeah. And we're just going to include the actual variable that it needs, but not your string value. So I'm just going to include database equals quotes. Your database connection string. Okay, this is now ready to go to GitHub. So the way we add a project to GitHub, so yesterday you guys pulled a project from GitHub and then added to it. But today I'm just going to add a project to GitHub. So let's check this out. Here's my GitHub. I already have a repository. A lot of you will have your Netflix repository here. So you want to click on where it says current repository and you want to click add. And I like to start with add existing repository, and then it'll give you an error and you can create a new one. Because this lets you immediately select a local path. So you're going to find where your project is. There you go. Tells me all the changes that I've made. And what I'm going to say is add an admin panel for my Mongo to edit users and movies in my Mongo. Commit. Publish. Now, for you, you should keep this private. For me, because I'm going to share this with you guys. Let's do Shasian at the end as well. Shasian. A simple admin panel for managing Mongo. You guys can keep it private. You don't necessarily have to share with everybody, but for me, I'm going to have to publish it publicly so you guys can have it. And now that I did it, I can view on GitHub, and it's going to take me to the link on GitHub. You don't have to put this up anywhere. Of course, you don't want this publicly. Just keep it locally. You can add some sort of a password on top of it, right? You can tell the AI on top of the main page, add a password. And let's see. I'm going to put a few things in the chat here. So first is, of course, this JSON file. And then I'm going to give you guys this link. And now, if you were to get this project, remember, all you really need to do is get your env file. So you're going to rename this env example to just .env, put in your database URL, and you're going to do npm install and npm run dev. And then you'll have an admin panel you can edit. So if you didn't necessarily follow along with the creation process, you have an admin panel from last night, from Ross. You have one here from me. So you have options. I think the one from last night looks way better. This one we didn't really do any big changes. What's up, AI John? You have your hand up?
Yeah. So just for my understanding, the website is being pulled off of Mongo. You update GitHub database, then you got to pull that up into Mongo, then go.
You don't have to pull anything into Mongo. You don't have to update any GitHub database or anything like that. Database is just like the data. And then movies and users are data. And what ends up happening is you have your website, right, the Netflix clone, that's connected to the same database as your admin panel. So you have one website that does one function, and then you have another website that the users actually see. That's the end product.
But I'm just curious, how is the website that people see when you do changes on Visual Studio Code, you download into GitHub, that is where the original data is coming from that the website sees, or it's coming from?
Data comes from a database, right? Mongo equals database. It's online. There's no pushing and pulling, downloading, uploading there. The change happens live. So just like if I were to go here, right? This is a little bit more familiar to you. This is not on GitHub. This is not anywhere except here in Mongo, right? This is your remote database that's always live, that you connect to with that little connection database URL string that your website connects to, that you can connect a computer to, that you can connect a different website to. This is always live, regardless of whether your code exists or not, right? There's nothing that has to do with GitHub, nothing that has to do with code, nothing that has to do with Visual Studio Code, because the way you're editing the database is right now, here, in here, right? But now we create a new way to do it through a little admin panel that you can integrate into anything. Yeah, you just need to create some separation for yourself. There's code, which is the structure of the website, how this looks, these nav bars, these categories here, and then everything inside of this website. The website and the code itself is just a shell, right? And then we populate it with data from Mongo. So yeah, you don't need to edit your code to edit the movies and the users and whatnot. Actually, if you notice, majority of the edits we're doing aren't even related to your Netflix clone. Majority of the edits we're doing are content data edits related to the database. Any other questions, guys?
I'm not seeing any, Honey Bear.
Do you guys have any questions about how to get Ross's project, for example, started on your computer? Because that's what everybody will need to do by next week, is have an admin panel, whether it's a one you build yourself from scratch, just like we did right now, or one of these ones in here. Maybe some of you build one you want to share as well. Oh, is that you, Dan?
Dan has, yep, there you go.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So it's a somewhat specific question, and it's based on something Ross said last night about there was part of the process. I don't exactly remember where it was last night, but when we are trying to make sure the structure of this code for the admin panel makes sense and is like just on a very bird's eye view. There was something that you guys were doing last night, and I wanted to just understand it a little bit more. Where Ross gave the and Sarah, I know you were there, so you may be able to speak to this too. And Kashmane, I think all of us were there pretty much. But there was the choice of like, should we keep it simple and just use the same thing, or should we, So I'm hoping somebody remembers that moment, because I was out running the dog, and I just kind of caught that little bit, and it seemed very important as far as the structure of a project. And especially when we're editing the code and being able to set ourselves up for success and not having to do like debugging all over again from scratch. If we, so it's really about labeling conventions and what is the best way in this admin panel to set that up. Looking at the different labeling conventions that will really help us look forward to merging these projects. The Netflix project with the admin panel, and making sure that from both the user end and the admin, the language is making sense, the structure is making sense. And maybe this question's not making sense because it's a really big one, but I'm wondering if you have any here's some hot tips for that.
So number one, the choice we made in the very beginning by using AppRouter already means you cannot easily merge these two projects, and you should not merge them because you don't need to merge them, right? You don't have role management in the other Netflix project. There's no differentiation between user, admin, manager, whatever in the Netflix clone project. So you're not going to merge them because you're going to have this website, that's the admin panel, running separately, probably locally or password protected, and then you're going to have your Netflix clone, right? So you don't want to merge them, and nor can we merge them because we already made that decision in the beginning by using AppRouter versus Pages Router. You were gonna follow up, Dan? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I maybe used the wrong term. If I said merge, I just meant playing nicely together and being able to
Ah,
reference each other.
yeah. So-
That's what I mean.
So check this out. The reason it plays nicely together right now is you just got to keep in mind the framework you're using and use the same framework, right? So if I go to our Netflix clone, I think this is the Netflix clone. The way it plays nicely is when you give the AI the schema, so the structure of your database. All databases have structures, by the way. So when you give it the schema of how your database is structured, and you give it the right framework. So we told it that it's built in Mongo, and it just assumed that it uses Prisma, which it does. So we got lucky there. But you could say, this is using Mongo and Prisma. And then when you have both using the same structure and the same framework, then they play nicely together, regardless of a coding language. I could have built this in Python. It could still interact the same way. And the way they're connected is, of course, the database itself. And that's what Prisma helps you do. Is it helps you, I guess, have like a little adapter to the database. Like, if you have an iPhone, you have all these adapters. That's pretty much how it is.
Dan, go ahead and
Yeah.
follow up, hon.
Yeah, no. So I'm glad you said it that way, because that's kind of what I was thinking. As I was running, I was thinking, well, gosh, this is an awful lot like Ascend, on a mixing board, because we're just patching. We're running a patch. I did a lot of technical theater for both fun and work study, and I was on the electrical crew, and that's one of the biggest jobs to do. It's the heavy lifting of making the light universe talk to something that is, that we're using as the console. And so we always have to patch. And I guess that helped me identify what exactly I'm even asking, because it seems like on the end of the Netflix clone that, there's already something that it's expecting. But if our admin panel is not, like we're saying playing nice, it's not speaking the same
absolutely
language.
right. You're
Right.
100% right. The admin panel is so the Netflix website is expecting a certain structure, and that's the structure that you see typically in a file that's schema or seed. If you remember from previous seasons, we used SQL. So that's why I like to give it the schema file. I think yesterday Rice also literally just went to the Mongo, and you can just like copy this whole page like this, and then give it to the AI. You can copy each one of these and give it to the AI so it knows the structure. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You're essentially modeling your admin panel after the structure of your database.
Perfect. That helps a lot. And thank you.
What's up, Ro?
It might be helpful just to walk through. So Ross gave us his GitHub on how to pull that in, to sort of walk through the steps.
Alisher, your mic's mute, hon.
I think he actually DC'd Sarah. I don't know if it could be.
He did. I have something that might help too, Rutro, as Alisher is coming back, and it's the thing we were talking about in the back channel, and that is within Console and a lot of the AI tutor products. One of the exports you can export in JSONs and ENVs. And so what I did is I just went to ShadCN and kind of copied that whole structure, and that's what really helped me understand like what the structure of the code had to be. So that's, I just wanted to say that is for us beginners, many of us are, remember you can export JSONs and ENVs right within AI Tutor.
Excellent. I also added Tech in Schools as a speaker, just to have it as a backup in case Alisher can't get back up here. Sometimes it happens.
I'm back. I think I'm back.
There you are. There you are.
And I heard your question, Ro, and sure, That's actually a good practice to do. So let's go over the project that Ross gave us, because ultimately it'll be the same thing as the project that I gave you. They all have the same steps to starting up. I was actually making a README right now, as you can see, on how to get started with my project. So let me paste this into my README and then I'll switch over. But yeah, I'll show you guys how to get started with Ross's project. You don't need to recreate what we created, but it's a good practice for you to get started with how to create a website. Let me just put this up. A lot of the changes here, like Prisma changes, aren't necessary. Okay. Let's stop this one. Make sure you guys have my instructions if you ever want to use this. And then I'll get Ross's. So let's check this out. Close this project. So here's Ross's project on GitHub. Right, this is what you have in Slack from Ross from last night. And what we can do is first, of course, let's check out the instructions. Easy, you just add your database URL. Great. We're gonna go to code, and the first step is you want to pull this code down onto your computer. The reason why I like GitHub Desktop, it makes it easy. You don't have to run commands to do this. So all I have to do is open with GitHub Desktop. Looks like it doesn't know I have GitHub Desktop. Think it closed on me. Yeah. Let's try again. Oh. Oh well. Let's do it a different way. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do, if this ever happens to you and it doesn't open with GitHub Desktop all of a sudden, I'm gonna do add, I'm gonna do clone, and then I'm just gonna give it the URL. Another thing you could do that's super useful is fork this, star this. So star fork, so you're able to come back to this project. I already see 11 forks. So you guys must have already got this project. Actually, that's what I'm gonna do too. I'm gonna fork this instead. Let's see. I have my GitHub open in a different browser. Okay. And what I'll say is just watch out. You want to have this two-factor authentication on GitHub. I think they force you to now. So make sure you update that, because otherwise you won't be able to access your GitHub. And easy forking just means you're creating a copy. So I'm going to click fork. I'll keep the same name. That's fine. You could always rename it. And now it'll be in my account. So now you'll have it, even if Ross makes it private. And then you could also sync with whatever changes Ross makes. There you go. We can open it in GitHub Desktop now. This is what it'll look like. You can choose where you want this. So I don't want this in that folder. I want this in my, I think I have everything in my documents, maybe. GitHub, date modified. It's the GitHub folder. There it is. Nice, and that will make a folder called admin Mongo streaming for me. So you don't need to make a new folder. It'll make a folder when you clone. Now here you want to select for my own purposes. You don't want to accidentally push to Ross's repository. And now we can open the Visual Studio Code. And let's check out the instructions. So the instructions tell us that we need this variable, right? So you're gonna make an env file. Typical, every next project, you'll probably need an env file. So new file .env. And I'm just gonna copy the same string from my Netflix clone. All right, this database URL, that's how we connect to the database. It's gonna be the same for all these admin panels for us, because this is the one where we wanna actually edit the movies. And now all we have to do is just go to terminal. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, this looks even simpler actually. Perfect. Simple, we'll do npm install because we need to install our packages. Every Node, Next, Vue, React project, you'll need first to install the packages. Whether it's npm, pnpm, bun, whatever it is, install is gonna be the way you start. And then we can just run it, npm run dev. And there it is. So let's check it out. Oh, actually, I think I gotta maybe text Ross because I don't think, or is it some different page? Let's see. App. Yeah, so there's an admin page. So go to /admin. And there's the admin panel from yesterday. And there's our data. And you guys see, you can kind of do the same thing. This looks a little bit misaligned. But you guys can pretty much edit all the same fields. Here's movies. You can add a movie. You can edit a movie. This is a little bit better. Mine has like no state management. There's like a drop down. Now we can delete a movie. Perfect. So that's how that will work. You just need to make the env file with your database URL, and then just npm install, npm run dev, and then don't forget to go to /admin once it runs. And then you'll get to that version of the admin panel. Does that help, Roro?
Excellent. Yeah, I just thought it would be a good exercise because
Yeah. And you know, if you go and get my repo, gonna work the same way. You're gonna make your env file with your database URL, npm install, npm run dev, and you can just go to the website. And yeah, most of these will work the same way. Any more questions, guys, before we wrap it up? But by next week, you want to have an admin panel. It'll make it easier for you to add movies, right? That was the main struggle. You realize that, oh, it's kind of hard and annoying to add these movies. And also, typically, you don't want to give people direct access to your database, right? So instead, you give them access to an admin panel where they can't delete the whole database, they can't change your configuration of the database, but they can edit the contents of the database, select contents, because here they can only edit movies and users.
This tied it in a nice little bow for me. Thank you, Alisher.
Alisher, could my EMV is gone. I was able to through Slack go to find the EMV that Ross put up, but it
All right, John, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna put the StreamYard link. You can come in. We'll spend like 10 minutes. We'll figure out your issue. Here's the StreamYard link. Oh, actually, that's not the link. I don't think that's the actual share link. That you can join. That's just my link. Invite. There it is. It's this one. So come on in. Share your screen. We'll figure it out. We'll take a few minutes, and we'll get you set up.
That's awesome.
thank you. Oh, wait till we're done. Perfect. Thanks.
Yep, you're going to clear it all up and you're going to hit the ground running, John. I know how frustrating it is. You know, there's nothing more irritating than going and having an exercise and then not having the tools that you need. It happens frequently in my studio, actually. But I do want to mention too, we are tying today's session up in a nice little bow, as Rutro said. Just to keep in mind, you know, Cash Money Kev mentioned the merch store, right? The merch store is there basically to create a pool of funds so that we can help people that are in our classrooms here. You know, Tech in Schools has gone above and beyond to make sure that, you know, kids in the New York system have access to the tools. And it is incredibly frustrating when you have a brilliant mind and you just feel like you're stuck. You're stuck in a ditch because you don't have the thing that you need to get to the next level. It is just an unmerciful kind of, you know, rock rock in your gut, you know. And I can tell you it's tough, right? The merch store is supposed to have this funding, and this funding will trickle down to folks that are needing some of the tools, whether it's laptop, whether it's subscription fees, whether it's whatever, right? It's a new program, so there's nothing in it yet, but hopefully we can expand it out and serve the folks that need stuff, because I guarantee you, once you get going and you have that forward momentum, you have the opportunity to pay it forward. You can put it back into the system. But sometimes it just takes a little push from the ditch, right? You need someone to hook you up and pull you out. And you never know. You never know how it'll all work out. But I'm really excited to see that, John, you're up and running, and in a couple more minutes you'll have your homework done. Remember, folks, don't just revisit this back on Wednesday, because you know what? Then you have to start all over again. It's like having a car in the driveway in 10 feet of snow. You still have to warm it up and, you know, dig yourself out. But if you keep it kind of, you know, digging in little increments, you can get to the end of the driveway. So check in, you know, take a day off, maybe tomorrow, just take a deep breath, and then revisit your homework again, revisit the process and the progress that you've made. Set that muscle memory and make sure you're understanding the terminology. So I did want to point out too, before we close, Sharon and Alisher have their class tomorrow. I do believe Fridays are their thing, but they have an intensive coming up, so you want to make sure to check in with that. Saturday, of course, you'll notice that I park my tail end in the Innovators Think Tank all day. It's not that I'm just sitting there, you know, on my tail end. I usually listen to it in the background while I'm working in my studio. I encourage everybody else to do the same. And then we have our demos, obviously, at night with Tech in Schools. We get to play in the sandbox and break things, and it's fun. And it's not homework intensive. It's basically, here's a link and let's play. Make time for play. That is something that's very important. It's very important to yourself and your soul, your inner child, to, you know, experience some of the stuff that's out there, and, you know, get some of your work done too. And that's a prime opportunity that if you do not have My AI Tutor or Pixio, you can still produce some rather awesome things that can be easily monetized if you're creative and you have the initiative. So make sure you're doing that too. If you need any help in the interim, just holler. And it doesn't have to be just about class. Sometimes you're just struggling as an entrepreneur. A lot of times you're building alone and it sucks. It sucks royally because everybody else around you are like, you're crazy. Don't know really what you're doing. Don't really care about what you're doing. Why are you spending all waking hours on this little brain worm of yours? I get it. I've heard it. I understand it. You want to surround yourself with other people that get it and understand it too. Then you're not building alone, you're building side by side. And surrounding yourself with doers has this contagious awesome. You are more productive. I don't know if it's a competitive bend in the human DNA, but it tends to happen where you're like, ooh, I finished this out. And then your friend is sitting next to you and saying, huh, I figured this out. And then you just kind of spur one another. It's like when you're running a race or a marathon and you finally beat the record, you have to ask yourself who that person that you were chasing, who they were chasing, because that's your next target. You always want to improve yourself. You want to get to the next level. Cash Money Kev and Alisher, I love you both to the moon and back. You are fine gentlemen, and it's a privilege to call you friends. And I'm very excited. I'm very jealous that Jack got his swag before me. I'm just going to tell you that is something I will be salty about. But that being said, it'll get here eventually. Alisher, did you have anything that you wanted to close out after that? We'll hand it over to Cash Money Kev, and he'll close the space.
Oh, I'm just waiting for John to share his screen because we're still on that.
Oh, I
Still.
thought you guys were going to do that after, like without us. That's cool. If you want to share with everybody else, that's awesome. I'm so sorry. Crispy, this is what happens when you only have 12 hours in between class and lots of stuff to do that prohibits you from going to bed and being